Coming up on today's episode of the Salesman podcast.
This is the greatest philosopher of our time. Okay, this is the Nietzsche of all great intelligence in the world. His name is Popeye, Popeye the Sailor Man. And Popeye said one thing. He said, I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
Hello, Sales Nation. I'm Will Barron, host of the Salesman podcast, and welcome to today's show. On today's show, we have the legend that is Claude Diamond. And you'll see, as soon as we get into the show, Claude is highly entertaining and he's different from other sales trainers out there. Today, we're talking about how you, or whether you should be trying to control the sale, or whether you should be allowing the buyer to control it. It's controversial, and Claude has an interesting and perhaps counterintuitive take on this. And so if you want to learn more about Claude after this episode, head over to claudediamond.com. And with that all said, let's jump into today's show. Hey, Claude, and welcome back to the Salesman podcast.
Hi.
I'm glad to have you on, mate. You're more than welcome. Last time we had you on, it was an absolute blast. And so I'm expecting, the pressure's on now. I'm expecting nothing less than that this time around. And in this show, let me add a bit of context here for the audience as well. Anyone who's perhaps interested in the podcasting world that I live in, who are listening to this episode, when I choose a guest, when I get someone to come on the show, of course, I want to talk about what their expertise is, and if they've got a book or if they've got some kind of content, I try and wrap that in as well and help them out the best I can. But I also try and choose a topic that has differing opinions and thoughts on it, because then that leads to a more interesting discussion, and it leads to multiple other podcasts and people emailing me and going back and forth with opinions, and obviously that engagement is good for the show and the brand and the shareability of everything. So Claude, I want to pitch you or ask you a question now that is, it goes across multiple camps in the world of sales. You've got on one side the closer mentality, the guy, the guys and the people who've been trained to, everyone that comes in, you've got to close them. It's fine to use perhaps manipulation tactics. As long as you believe in your product, it's fine. It's fine to get people to sign up when perhaps they're slightly hesitant, because you know at the end of the day they're going to be okay. On the other side, which is perhaps more on the complex B2B side of things, you have sales coaches and trainers telling people it's okay to be a bit softer on your approach, to allow the prospect to suss things out on their own time, and of course the perhaps different types of sales. You've got the stereotypical car salesperson on this side, and you've got the stereotypical kind of long-term B2B complex sale on the other. Claude, is there a best way to go about this? And if there is, what is it?
Do you know who my hero is, Will?
No.
Yeah, I'm going to show him. I don't know if the podcast is on video too, because I'll hold him up.
But tell us who it is as well for everyone listening on audio.
This is my hero. This is the greatest philosopher of our time. Okay, this is the Nietzsche of all great intelligence in the world. His name is Popeye, Popeye the Sailor Man. And Popeye said one thing. He said, I am what I am, and that's all what I am. And I think in sales, let's stop trying to be like Guru A or Guru B. Let's just be ourselves. We think of the prospect as this strange creature that crawled out of the La Brea tar pits where the dinosaurs died, and they're this new species, okay? They're not. We are the prospect. So let's just be ourselves. Let's be relaxed. Let's have what we call an adult-to-adult conversation, okay? And I do have a system. Guts is a system. Basically. But I want to talk to people and have fun adult-to-adult conversations and just decide in a few minutes. And one of my other little props is a 3-minute timer. You can ask me about that. We might have talked about that last time. I believe that, yes, we do need systems. We do need the science of persuasion and influence. We do need to be great thespians, to create an environment, not to manipulate or to pressure people, but to create an environment of comfort, relaxation, fun, and communication with the prospect. People fail in sales. Am I on a soapbox now? I'm sorry. You just asked one simple question.
You go for it.
I'm on a
dive in. Yeah.
People, I think gurus make sales too damn complicated. Okay? It's not, if you have I believe in P&P, okay? You've got to have it's got to be practical, and you've got to have passion. The product you sell has got to be practical. You've got to have something you believe in, something of value to people, something that allows you to make money, or a service, or whatever, a widget, whatever you're selling. But you've also got to have the passion for what you're selling. You've got to love it. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I love what I'm doing. I'm not a workaholic, but I'm a horrible employee, by the way. I'm the world's worst employee. I'm the guy who looks at the clock all day long. Ugh, yawning, boring. But you give me my own business, and you teach me how to give good phone, how to sell. And man, I have so much fun on the way to the bank. So
Claude, let me jump in
I guess
here.
I'm a hybrid.
Let me jump in here. How important in the grand scheme of things, and perhaps you can give a percentage on this, how important is being able to just have a good conversation, and fun we'll come back to in a minute, because I think that's important. That's missed very often. So having a good conversation, being able to have fun and, build rapport with people, versus having a step-by-step process of closing the deal. Which one, percentage-wise, closes the deal more often?
Well, a lot of the sales trainers out there say you got to go to step A to step B, and they have 20 different steps. I have 3 steps: agenda, qualification, commitment / close. You've got to ask yourself, why do so many, we've all heard the quote about sales, that sales is the highest paid profession in the world. They all love to say that. What they don't say is that it's also the highest failure rate in the world, the highest turnover rate in the world, and less than 1% truly succeed at this skill, at this unbelievable skill set that can make you wealthy beyond anything you've ever desired, and give you all the freedom and lifestyle you want. But it takes work, it takes time, and it takes a lot of other things. The way most people are teaching things today is they're telling them about scripts. Here's where I get controversial. I don't believe in scripts. I think scripts are a waste of time, because when we hear a script from a salesperson who's not a very good actor, we get very bored very fast. We say, oh God, Martha, it's a salesman, and we want to get off the phone real fast. I don't believe in presentations, because they're usually premature. Okay, do you suffer from the agony of premature presentation? Yeah. Okay. So too much presentation. We don't know. The guy wants it in green and wants to know if it costs less than $20 a month. He doesn't want to know the history of your widget. Okay. So we're boring them to tears, and we're acting like a goofy little clown instead of having that fun conversation. Most people fail in this business because of all the rejection that they're getting from the prospects, because the prospect says, oh God, here's someone who wants to put their hand in my wallet or manipulate me or bore me to tears. Let's stop doing that. It's 2016.
Why then? And again, hold off on the fun angle, because I'm coming back to that. This is huge in our conversation.
I have a lot of fun in this.
I know, because you're a good guy on this conversation, because you're charismatic, you're interesting, you've got lots of, and where I want to get out with the fun angle, we're going to hold off. We're going to build some suspense and tension, in that you have seemingly this endless ability to come up with jokes and stuff. And I'm interested whether that's pre-canned or whether it's on the moment, on the spur of the moment. So we'll come back to that. Hold off on that. But I just want to drill down deeper. Why is there all these gurus, all sales training companies that, multi-million-dollar companies? It's $1 billion industry, the sales training industry. Why do they have all these steps and processes? When I agree with you, 99% of the time, you're going in to have, or you're having a conversation, you need to have some kind of agenda so you know what you're talking about. You've got something that you're trying to kind of put across, and then you need to close and move on to the next action. I don't think, for the most part, it needs to be more complex than that. So I agree with you on that front. But why is there all these methodologies? Why is there all these processes? Is it simply people are just trying to make a shitload of money from it, and so they have to come up with their own method so they can sell it at a high price? Is it as simple as that?
Everybody has a different take. Sales is, I like to keep sales simple, but in reality, sales is very complicated. Sales is a science. It's an art form. It's psychology. It's what makes that other person tick. I use the word empathy a lot. Okay. I wish I was a mind reader and I could know what that person is thinking all the time. I have to do the next best thing. I have to try to imagine what they're feeling, what they're going through. I've been a prospect. You've been a prospect. I want that person to like me, to trust me, to respect me. I want to have that fun adult to adult dialogue where it's not the typical salesman prospect. Hello, Mr. Prospect. How are you today? I'd like to tell you about, and you start the slideshow and read the script. And he's going, oh God, I just want to know if it comes in yellow. We've got to change the way we sell. And we've got to, there is science to it. We have to learn how to ask questions that get the prospect emotionally involved. I talk about something called the EQ and the IQ, the emotional quotient. It's a $1 million rule that I teach all my students that I mentor. I don't guru, I mentor. I do only one-on-one training with my students and companies I work with.
Why is that? I think this is important. Why do you go one-on-one and not try and scale things?
Because it works. You cannot tell. I could buy you a. Do you play the piano?
I play drums, if that works.
Okay, drums. When the first time you got on the drums, were you a savant and you were Ringo Starr right away?
10 years later, I'm not now.
10 years later, piano, guitar, sales. Sales is a skill that you have to work on. And you cannot work on it from a motivational speech in a Holiday Inn with bad donuts and watery coffee. You cannot learn it from books and tapes. They give you motivation, but Monday morning always comes around. You need a skill set. The way you get good at anything is practice. I love training people because we practice. We role. I don't know anyone else who does what I do. Maybe I'm crazy. I role play with my students. We record it. We do face-to-face on Skype. We do live phone calls. And so they can see. I'll challenge anyone. I wonder if any of the speakers that you have in your show would take a yellow pages, a phone book, and pick out a phone number and call that person and engage them in a civil conversation right away. That's what I do with my students. I can't tell them all day long. I have to show them. If I show them, I can do it, and then we practice, and then they go out with the skill set. The likelihood of success is so much greater, Will. You can't teach somebody to learn sales by book. And listen, I have 1 million books, and I love sales books, and I love listening to your show all the time and stuff like that. It motivates me. When I go running every day, I listen to Will Barron's Salesman podcast and all the other sales podcasts. I love this stuff. I listen to audiobooks, things like that. But in reality, you get great at sales when you practice. When people say to you, I'll think about it, I'll talk to my spouse, send me your contract, are you prepared to understand what they're feeling, what they're thinking? And do you have the right words? Because you've practiced it with your mentor and you know what to say and you know how to feel good and not get rejected and go to the bank more often than your competition. That's what you need to get great at sales.
Are you saying then, and I think you are, but let me wrap what you've just said up hopefully, that sales is like muscle memory, where you've got to go through and practice out loud the different conversations and go over the objections and have things come up spur of the moment. And it's kind of getting implanted at the back of your brain so that when it comes up, you can be congruent with yourself and not be thinking, okay, they've said this, so my sales guru process tells me to ask them, the question back in a certain formula. And so that's what I do every time. Is it all about experience versus process, perhaps?
It's experience, it is confidence and relaxation. It is also science. It is also theater. We are in the acting. We are thespians. My job. I went to my mentor once. I sound like I'm a smart guy, but I'm not. Everything I learned from this wonderful man I met. I wrote books about him, Max, and I went to college. I went to countless seminars. I bought every book and tape, and I met this one sweet little old man in New Jersey who made more money in one phone call the first time with a prospect than I made it in a whole year in corporate America. And I said, "Oh my God, how do I learn this?" And I finally met a true natural-born salesman, which I was not. I'm the former world's worst salesman. Okay? You ask my wife, before we went out on a date, I had to write notes on a jib sheet, top, points to talk about during our first date. That's how nervous I was. In sales, I think sometimes we get too nervous. We're thinking about systems and scripts and presentations instead of talking to this person like a human being. And the more we do it, the more we think, well, why did he or she say that? Maybe they're worried about the price. Maybe we should talk about the price up front, like two adults. Will, I have a feeling that money's important to you on this topic. Have you set aside some money or funds? Should we talk about that for a moment?
Let me jump in here because, so the top of the show, I asked you whether we should be overly in control, whether we should let the prospects go and ponder on things. Is this where we should be in the middle of, because I like the way you put it, it just seems so simple. We're just having a adult conversation with someone that you're, if you've got the rapport and you built that trust with them, you're just having a conversation like you would have a conversation with a friend. If your friend, wanted to buy a car from you, or if you're selling your car to a friend, you just say, well, what's your budget? Does it work? I'll help you out. Versus if you're selling a car in the stereotypical car salesperson way, you're trying to screw them down, you're trying to, grab their attention, do all these things. Is that all unnecessary if we can just align things up so we can just have a good conversation with them?
Listen, I'm always in control, okay? But I don't let the prospect know it, okay? I want the prospect to interact with me. I want a conversion here where the prospect turns into the salesman, where the prospect starts asking me questions, where the prospect gets emotionally involved. Because the $1 million rule is that people make immediate business decisions because of some feeling, some passion, some emotion, and then they justify it later by the PowerPoint presentation that you gave and everything else. But people make immediate business decisions because of the feelings they have speaking to you. So you have to be the doctor in the room. And can I explain that for 1 second?
Of course you can.
Okay, you're my patient, and we might have done this in the last podcast, but it bears repeating. I'm a doctor. You're a patient. Your neck hurts. You come into my. Oh, let's reverse the role. You be the doctor. Okay, you're Dr. Will, and I come into your office. What do you say to me?
What's wrong with you, Claude? You're in here every 5 minutes. You're a pain in the ass.
Yeah, Felix Unger. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Will, my neck is killing me. Can you help me?
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay, who's in control here? Who has the authority? Who has the knowledge? Who has the problem?
Sure.
I'm the patient.
The doctor's in control, and I probably said the wrong. Maybe I said the right thing then, potentially, of your.
Well, you attacked me right away. You're in here again?
I'm breaking down the barriers. I'm trying to add a bit of fun and relaxation to the conversation. That's what I was doing there.
But if I'm the doctor or the lawyer or any professional and a patient, a client comes to me, what I should start to say is not read the script, not give a presentation, say, Will, good to see you. How can I help you? Why are we here today? What do we want to accomplish today? If I can solve your problem, remove your pain or problem, can show you how to increase your sales in the next 30 days or less, how would you feel about that? And it's okay to say no to me here today or fire me or reject me. I don't mind. But what's your thoughts on this, Will?
So let me just jump in because I wanted to ask you about emotions, and I wanted to get really practical with this. You might have just given me the answer there. Is that how we obviously want to tie emotion into the conversation because that makes it easier for people to make a decision versus if they've got the analytical brains on, number, price is more relevant in the conversation than what we want it to be, perhaps. How do you drag emotion into the conversation? Do you do it how you just described then of saying, rather than, do you want to go forward with this? You say, how does this make you feel?
The words I use, the questions I ask with what I call redirection. That sometimes I'll go positive to get a negative response. Sometimes I'll go negative to get a positive response.
And give us an example of that. Like, as in you're selling, so my background is medical device sales. Give us an example that you would use between perhaps a surgeon and someone selling medical devices.
Well, if I could, well, I don't know if you're interested, but I have a new medical device that could remove a lot of pain and increase the healing of your patients. And it's also at a much lower price. That isn't anything you're interested in looking at today, is it?
I see. So you're asking a negative question to get them to say yes.
Right.
Cool.
And I also talked about saving money. Is money emotional? And removal and reducing pain and healing time of your patient. This takes practice. It's spontaneous, okay? It's going into a cocktail party. And you ever see how some people can just walk into a room and make new friends and talk to peeling wallpaper if necessary? And some people don't make eye contact and they say yes, no, uh-huh. Okay? Sales takes passion. It takes energy. It takes a love of what you're doing. I had a little note here before. and you were talking. I do have to control the process, okay? But I don't want the prospect to know it. There's a brilliant video on YouTube. By the way, I have about 450 videos on YouTube. I use that for my marketing. We're not going to talk about leads much today, I don't know, but I get all my leads, by the way, through social media and YouTube videos by giving content out, and I get all the leads I want for zero cost. There is one video on YouTube that I think totally demonstrates this use of EQ versus IQ. And it was made in London, by the way, by a marketing firm. And I bet you know what it is. It's the blind man on the street. Change your words, change your world. Have you ever seen that video?
I've not seen it, no.
I think it's had 100 million hits. It's called Change Your Words, Change Your World. There's a blind man on the street with a sign that says, I'm blind, please help. He's on a cold street and in a business area, and all the business people are walking past him, and this nice professional woman comes, takes his sign, turns it around, and writes something on it, and you don't see it. She puts the sign back by the blind man, and all of a sudden, everybody's throwing money, giving money in his little cup to this blind man. And she comes back later in the day, and the blind man says, what did you do to my sign? And she says, I changed the words to change the meaning. And I show this at all my presentations because it's so beautiful. And what she did is she changed the sign to say, it's a beautiful day. I wish I could see it. Change your words and the way you communicate with people, and you will change your world in sales. I think people fail in sales because it's uncomfortable and there's so much rejection because they're doing the same old tired, boring bullshit, pardon my language, that everybody else is doing. They're all copying each other with the same boring script, the same boring presentation. Talk to these people the way you want to be spoken to. Ask them questions like the professional. Get them emotionally involved. And the magic will always happen. Quick story, if I'm not blabbing too much here.
No, you go for it.
You mentioned the cars before, and I just did a video on this on my YouTube page. My wife and I, we lease a car. I've been leasing 6 cars from the same dealership because I love this salesman. You know what he does? He calls me up. He says, how are you? How's the family? Claude, I don't know if you're interested, but we have a special program on a new car. I know your lease doesn't expire for 6 months, but if you come in here, we'll eat the lease, and we'd like to take care of you today if you want. And I said, thank you so much. And all he did was give good phone, which is one of my favorite expressions. He called me up, talked to me like a human being. We went down there and bought a car. But here's the takeaway on the story. We went down to the dealership. I picked up a couple dozen bagels and cream cheese, and I brought them to the dealership. So the whole dealership had breakfast on Claude and Claudia Diamond. The sales manager comes into the cubicle and he says, Mr. Diamond, no one's ever done that before, okay? He's never seen a prospect treat the salesman that way, with stroking, nurturing, empathy, treat them, do something nice for him. Who's in control of the negotiation process on the new 3-year lease on my Cadillac?
Nice.
Moi. Guess what? I saved $3,600 because he asked me about sales, and I said, I'll do, and I got a potential new client there, and I said, I'll do a presentation for you. And I said, if you give me the deal I want in the car. So even as the prospect, we can use this gut system of controlling the process by the words, the actions we take.
So we'll have you back on to dive into the words, the linguistics, and all that kind of stuff, because I find that super fascinating. But what I want to wrap up this show in particular, Claude, is with what we started the show with, and you kind of teased it. And this is this element of fun, and you use the word relaxation as well. And this perhaps is the difference between the car salesperson calling you and you going, oh, he's asking me how my day is and he doesn't really give a shit and he's kind of going on and on. Versus, which is, you've got a video which just come out, which talks about that, which shows that with a real estate broker, I think. And we'll link to all these videos in the show notes over at salesman.red for everyone who is driving that at the moment, so you can check them out. But is being fun, is being able to put people in a relaxed state, is that the difference between the salesperson calling, going, hey, how's it going? How's your day? And you going, I don't want to talk about that. And the salesperson calling, going, hey, how's your day? And you do want to talk about it. Is the difference fun?
Well, I'll give you an example. I have salespeople who call me sometimes, and I like to record them. And the one salesman called me, well, how's your day today, Mr. Diamond? With all that phony enthusiasm. I said, it's pretty horrible. I just found out my daughter's dating Bill Cosby. And there was a dead silence because he was completely off balance, And I like to have a lot of fun, and I do use humor a lot of times. So when someone says, how's your day? Oh, it's horrible and everything. Do you ever have one of those? I fell off the toilet seat this morning and oh my God, and I like to put people a little off balance, unconventional. Okay, I like to do the things that other people are unwilling to do. That's why I call it guts. Great, untraditional, unorthodox techniques of sales and success. I'm trying to get to a place while staying in control, but not being controlling, and where I can have a fun conversation with people. I tell people when people say to me, I gotta talk to my wife. I call my wife in the room. I love it when we're on Skype or Periscope or something. I'll say, hey, honey, I got Will here on the phone. Is it okay to sell him? Oh, Will, my wife said it's okay to sell you to teach you how to make more money in the next 30 days or less and have fun. So you talk to your wife and you see if it's okay to buy from me, okay? And I'll do shit like this. And
why? Why does this work? Because I've got my own thoughts on this, but why, when you throw them slightly off what they're used to, what's that doing? What's the psychology behind that?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that question because I'm going to get in so much trouble with the next thing I'm going to say. You don't want to go to a commercial break, do you?
I wish we had them. We'd throw more money in it.
I say a lot of things that are controversial. I think this is the most controversial. I believe that the salesman always comes first. And you probably don't hear that very often on your show. Everybody kind of talks the Zig Ziglar, give, and then give some more. And then the prospect will be so delighted they'll give back. Well, I tried that, and they don't always give back. Okay, they always say, "Well, you're a great guy, Claude, but we gave it to Joe." But I was up till 2 a.m. doing those contracts and proposals for you. And I took you and your wife out to dinner. And I believe that the people who are in sales, the majority of them are good people, hardworking people, honest people who represent good companies, good products and services. And I think they have a right to be rewarded, to put food on their family's table. I think they have a right for everything they do to be compensated. And if they go through the day with a sign on their back that says, please kick me, or pee on my back and tell me it's raining all day long, I think they're going to get depressed. They're not going to make phone calls anymore. They're not going to make money, and they're going to go to the next thing, the next shiny object on the table. I think sales has to be rewarding, profitable for them because they deserve it. They're working hard, and I think they have to have fun on the way to the bank. And if anyone disagrees with me, that's their right. But I know I love sales. I say sales is the $1 million skill, but it takes a little work to learn it. And if it's not fun on the way to the bank, who's going to continue doing something that gives him constant rejection? The salesman always comes first with guts.
I enjoy that. That was not the answer I was fishing for. I'll tell you where I was going with this. Of when you put someone slightly off guard by saying something funny, you kind of throw them out of their routine of, oh, it's a salesperson calling, so my response is to put up the shields kind of thing. If you tell them that you just fell off the toilet, they're going to go, what? And then you've got an opportunity to then reconnect on a deeper level with them and have a more human-to-human conversation. But I enjoyed your spin on the answer as well. But no, that's the whole point of these conversations because, I'm sure you agree with that as well. I'm sure that comes into the conversation when you're trying to throw people one way and the other. And that's what makes conversations interesting, right, as well.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. I think we have to be unconventional, maybe a little irreverent. We have to be ourselves. Back to Popeye again. We have to do things that, if we do the same thing, what's the definition of insanity, Will? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. All salespeople sound the same. They're boring. Okay, and they all use the same words and stuff. Let's do something different. You know how I get past every guardian at the gate when I need to speak to the decision maker? Go ahead. You be the guardian at the gate. The reception, the lovely reception.
Hey, Claude. Our CEO is not available right now. I'll take a message for you.
Oh well, you know what? I wanted to say is Will available? I wanted to see if Will could do lunch today. This is Claude. Would you tell him Claude's here and Claude's on the phone? I want to do lunch today.
He's not available right now, but I can take a message for you if you like.
Oh, I can't even remember the last time we spoke. We've never spoken. But could you do me a favor? Give him a message. Tell him Claude Diamond called 970-281-5151. I want to do lunch with him today or tomorrow if it's at all possible.
I'll tell him that.
Okay. Now you're
But
not.
now I'm feeling pressured to go. The situation doesn't even exist. There isn't even a CEO, and I'm feeling pressured to go. Maybe Claude does know him, and maybe I'm going to get told off if I don't,
Yes.
move things forward.
Maybe I'm his best friend. Maybe I'm his brother. Maybe we went to college together.
But Claude, let me jump in
And
here
I didn't
because
lie, by the way.
I,
Did you notice I never lie? I never lie.
but you are manipulating the situation, though. You are being misleading. Is that
Am I
okay?
being what? No, wait. I'm being misleading. I want to take him to lunch. That's not misleading. I want to take everybody to lunch because now, how many times do you get asked for lunch?
All time, yeah.
Okay, good. But most salespeople will never do that. Hi, I'd like to speak to Mr. Barron and see if he's free for lunch. You make an assumption that I know you. I didn't say I know you. I said, gee, I can't remember the last time I even spoke to Will. I've never spoken to Will, but it's not a lie. And will I take Will to lunch? Sure. When I talk to a lot of real estate people, I tell them, listen, can I come over to your house? What's your favorite food, Will? Why don't we get together this evening? Should I bring over a pizza or sushi? Okay. Let's have fun. Let's use food. Let's use humor. And I have one client, Cushman Wakefield, one of my largest clients in New York City, very large commercial real estate firm. They had problems seeing CEOs. We came up with the idea to buy these little umbrellas. So every time it rains, deliver an umbrella with a card on it. Thought of you today, wanted to keep your feet dry, something like that. And we drop them off with the receptionist. 50% of the CEOs who get the umbrella, guess what they do, Will?
Call the card.
They call back and say thank you because no one else was that thoughtful. We have to reinvent sales and do the things and use the words and think of the ideas and create the environment that gets people off balance or creates that likability and trust, or at least gets our foot in the door. This is survival 2016, man. We can't do what everybody else is doing. And I find this very challenging. I find it fun. It's stimulating. And not everybody, but the thing is, if it's enough fun for me and I talk to enough people, and one of my rules is, can we speak to 5 new prospects a day? In my business, I'm a sales trainer. If I can speak to 5 new people a day, my business hums. If a real estate agent can speak to 5 new buyers or sellers a day, business hums. But they can't do the same stuff that everyone else is doing because it's boring and ineffective.
Love it. Claude, I'm conscious of time here, mate. So we will have you back on to dive into all this deeper because I think we're only, perhaps we've scratched the surface and we've talked about the outcomes. We've perhaps not talked about how to go about coming out of the box, being out of the box, if there's a process to do that other than just being super creative and putting that because I hate this corporate mindset of doing everything right. You're in this horrible, overly pressed suit, and it's all a bit weird, and the conversation is a bit polite. And you talked about it at the top of the show of you've got this PowerPoint presentation, and you're sat or stood there. No one gives a shit as you're going through it, and you're just going through the motions. I think we can leave a lot of that behind, and I think there's a lot of value into diving into this topic deeper, which we'll do on a future episode. Which I appreciate, mate, because you've given me a load of food for thought in this one. But Claude, before we wrap up, I've got a couple of questions I ask everyone that comes on the show. First one, if possible, dollars always adds to the kind of impact of this, but dollars if possible, what's the biggest deal you've ever closed?
The biggest, I'm going to modify it, I'm going to say the best deal I ever closed. Can I say that?
You can.
Thank you. The best deal, this is going back years and years ago. I was having a bad period in sales. Even the guru, even the mentor, even the guy who wrote the books can have a bad period sometimes. And I remember my wife and I were starting to stress out because we had some very large financial commitments, and I had a bad string. I just had a bad couple months of sales. It was my fault, no one else's. I don't blame the economy, God, or the weather. And I started getting, something unusual happened. I started getting mad at myself. And I said, I'm better than this. And I got on that darn phone, which I was neglecting to use, and I started making phone calls. And I wouldn't get off that phone until I got to the right prospect. I made the biggest sale of my life, and I was able to pay off my debts, keep my commitment. This is a long time ago. And I remember my wife coming to me, and she was crying. She was like, the stress was so great financially. And everybody has been broke or had some kind of stress in their life at one time. She was crying, and I felt so good that I made that sale. And I said to myself, "What? Yesterday I was a loser, and today I'm a winner." I said, "What changed?" It changed because Claude was willing to have the guts to give good phone.
Nice.
I'm sorry if I deviated from your question.
No, it's good. I think these personal anecdotes, I think it humanizes the guests, in yourself, and I appreciate you being candid with that. Next one, Claude. What is one book or resource other than your own that you'd recommend, perhaps on the topic of being able to have better conversations or more fun conversations and everything that we talked about today?
Cialdini, it's still my favorite. I think I said it last time I was on the show. The Psychology of Persuasion. He talks about likability and trust and all the things that should come up in a good adult to adult sales conversation. He basically makes you think of why should someone buy from me today? And I love that. I love that book. And it really exemplifies some of the things that we need to put into our sales conversations. The Psychology of Persuasion, Robert Cialdini.
Nice. We'll link to that in the show notes. The Sales Nation should have bought and consumed many times this book by now, but we'll link to it in the show notes for anyone who hasn't already downloaded it or bought it. And next one, what does the first 60 minutes or so of your day look like?
Oh, well, without getting too personal, no. Seriously, I love that.
No falling off toilets in this part of the show.
But no more toilet jokes. The thing is, I believe in a ritual of success. Okay, I do the same thing every day almost. I get up in the morning. I work out with my weights in the morning and do my sit-ups. I'm really big on being healthy. Here, I don't know if your viewers can see it. This is my breakfast for this morning. Isn't that beautiful? It's a bowl full of fruit. I do that. I then go out and I run 5 to 10 miles every day. I'm up here in Winter Park, Colorado, or San Diego. I love to trail run every day. I run. I'm talking about 8 days a week, no breaks. I love it. I love trail running. Then I go swimming every day at the local health club. And then I come back home. I have coffee or breakfast with my wife. And then I start to give good phone. I usually have 5 to 10 half-hour, 15-minute appointments. I do group training calls. And I am the luckiest guy in the world. Monday never comes in my world because every day is Friday. I love what I do. And I'm not a workaholic, but to discover your passion and to make a good living, because money is important, but also doing what gets you to that money is important. And if you can find that, you can live the life you want and be the human being you want to be.
Definitely. And final one, Claude. I asked you this last time, so I'm going to slightly twist it. If you could sit down with the 10 to 20,000 people that are going to listen to and watch this now on iTunes, on Stitcher, on YouTube, all the different platforms, but you can only offer them one piece of advice to improve their ability to sell, and it goes across all industries, B2B primarily, but also probably a bit of B2C, a bit of sales management leadership, because I know they listen as well. What would that one piece of advice you'd offer them be?
Find a mentor, and I don't mean a guru. I don't mean a motivational speaker. I don't mean walking on hot coals. Find somebody that is doing what you're doing successfully, financially successfully. They're doing it honestly, and there's accountability. They're not just taking your money and handing you off to someone. Work with someone who has the right to teach. I'd be cleaning a Slurpee machine in a 7-Eleven right now if it wasn't for my mentor, Max, okay? He taught me how to sell. Once I learned how to sell, my whole world changed overnight. I was talking to more people. I was having more fun. I was making more money, and I was becoming more confident. The one takeaway is find a mentor, but find the right mentor.
Amazing stuff. I totally reiterate that. It's something that I need to concentrate on as well with the podcast, I think. Maybe I'll do a podcast on mentorship very specifically and perhaps track my journey. Find a mentor that will come on the show and talk very directly about it and kind of give me some tough love on air. I think that'd be a good show. So I appreciate that, Claude. And with that, for everyone who is you've had laughing and giggling throughout the show and who's taken something away from it, where can we find out more about you and everything that you do?
Oh, anybody, just go to Google and type in Claude Diamond. I'm not going to insult your audience's attention span with all kinds of web pages and links and things. Just type in Claude Diamond in Google. You'll find me on YouTube. You'll find my web page. You'll find more information than you want. I give away a lot of stuff for free, and I do answer my own phone, by the way. If anyone ever wants to Skype or call me, feel free to do so.
Good stuff. We'll link to all that in the show notes over at salesman.red as well. And with that, Claude, I want to thank you, mate, for your time. I want to thank you for your energy.
Man, thank you.
Really thank you for your energy. I really appreciate when you've got riled up, you've come on the show. I'm interested. I'd be intrigued to speak to your wife and see whether you're like this constantly, because you'd probably be a nightmare if you are. But
behind every successful man, Will, is usually a smarter, more exhausted woman.
Definitely, I can appreciate that. And with that, Claude, I want to thank you for joining us on the Salesman podcast.
Thank you, Will.
And there we have it. Claude, thank you for coming on the show. Claude, thank you for doing things your way as well. I appreciate that. I think the sales industry needs a lot more of it. Thank you, Sales Nation, for tuning in. I appreciate that we're growing so fast at the moment, and it's only down to you guys sharing these episodes with your friends and your colleagues and business partners and whoever else is. I can only do so much kind of pushing out on social media, and it's you guys sharing it, which is the real needle mover. So I appreciate that. And with that all said, I'll speak with you again on tomorrow's episode.